Following podcast contains mature content. The views and opinions expressed by the host are not to those of the host. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, look who's back. Your boy Wreak Havoc is bringing you another edition of the Havoc Hour. Long awaited, long sought after, but after some long negotiations and other things, we are making it happen this evening. And I hope you got your sleep in, because after tonight, the plan is to keep you up as long as possible. But with that being said, we're going to jump back into our cinema series. And of course, I can't do my cinema series without my cinema crew. First and foremost, the patron saint of podcasting, the host of the #1 wrestling podcast on Pornhub, the one and only Warden, Mr. Matt Ritter. What's going on?
Not a lot. And to be clear, he's not talking about keeping you up all night with his penis. He's talking about with our discussion of nightmares. Nightmare on Elm Street specifically. In case you got confused. Because, you know.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And of course, as always, I have brought my client, host of the Sheelite Show case, the shaman of Sheelite, the rookie sensation rookie of the year, the one and only Miss Katie Kinzy. Baby, you're welcome.
Thank you. I haven't had an introduction in a while, so it feels good.
I thought he went all Malcolm Bivens on you and just, you know.
No. I'll never do that. Never do that. Not at all. Well, for anyone who hasn't gotten to listen yet, I know it's been a while, so I'm just going to recover, how we're doing our cinema series, particularly in our horror genre. We're going to run down, as we said today, the Nightmare on Elm Street film franchise, and we are going to comb over through each movie, and of course the Warden, Mr. Matt Ritter, is going to give his special brand of recaps for every movie as we go down them, and then we're going to give our likes and dislikes, but we are calling them here our thrills and our kills, and for anything that we're feeling right on the fence about, we're going to give a nice little stab too. So, we're going to try and get this out here in one shot, but with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Matt Ritter to start us off with the one that kicked us all off, the original Nightmare, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. So basically, the movie's 4 white suburban kids are having bad dreams. They all have shit parents, especially the Thompsons, one of which is a cop, no surprise. So Mr. Christmas Sweater Murder Glove kills 2 of them while they're fucking. Nancy and her boyfriend are downstairs giving Nancy's boyfriend blue balls. Nancy finds out her parents, who keep creepy murder trophies in their furnace apparently, were part of a vigilante mob that burned Freddy alive because he was a child killer and rapist, but that's not continuity in this movie. This secret drives Nancy's mom to drink more than she already did. Her dad is never there to notice, but is cautious enough to allow mom to just like lock the entire house down, bars, windows, all that shit, so Nancy can't get out. Because they want her to sleep, even though all of her friends are dying in their sleep. Great parenting. After Johnny Depp gets off, Nancy gets imprisoned in her own home by her mom. She tries to fight back. Nancy ends up defeating Freddy by grabbing onto him in a nightmare and then waking up and pulling him into our world. Freddy thought he was going to fuck. He was not getting fucked. He did get fucked, but not the way he wanted. She lights him on fire. Freddy runs into mommy's room and jumps on top of mommy, starts humping her while burning alive. Dad comes home, finds Nancy standing there. They watch mommy's burnt corpse descend into a hole in the bed full of smoke. And then Nancy wakes up the next day and everything's bright and shiny and all of her friends are still alive. And mom's not drinking and she's happy, but it's kind of fucking hazy. Then she gets into a car and all the doors on the car lock, and mom turns into a blow-up doll and gets sucked through a tiny hole in the door.
Yep.
And that is a Nightmare on Elm Street.
Indeed. So, what are our thrills from A Nightmare on Elm Street?
Obviously, Johnny Depp's first movie. Big thrill. Seeing an early Johnny Depp, despite all of the controversy that is going on around Mr. Depp right now, and the accusations and the hilarious court trial that is taking place currently.
Did you see real quick? Did you see Amber taking a bump on her?
That's literally why I just did this. Yeah,
Yo.
on the stand, she's taking a fucking bump of coke.
I saw someone talking about it, but then I'm
She had to
like,
get her mind right.
I'm like, there's no way. But then I saw the video. I'm like, this bitch is doing drugs in court.
No one blows their nose like this.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Anyways.
But, yeah.
So Johnny Depp's first movie, big thrill for me, because he was unlike Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th. You know, he was a main featured character. He was the the final girl's boyfriend.
Mhm.
Also died really cool. That great blood spouting out of the bed scene. Freddy, obviously, being introduced. This glove being introduced, which is a unique weapon that we have not seen people killed with because they had to do something different. It wasn't going to be machetes and butcher knives or chainsaws. They wanted it to be unique. So that obviously is a big thrill. The whole movie, I mean, the kill scenes in this movie are fucking insane.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like Tina getting spread across the wall, she's fucking and then she's dying, but may also still be fucking a ghost that's killing her, and Rob's just watching. The way they shot the scene where Rob died and made it look like he committed suicide, where the blanket crawls up him and wraps around his neck. They actually shot in reverse, so it was around his neck and they pulled it and then they ran it backwards so it looked like it was crawling up him. The room that they used for Johnny Depp's death was like a rotating room that was also used in Electric Boogaloo 2, and it all happened in one shot because everything rushed out and shocked the shit out of a lighting technician. And yeah,
Yep.
That's fun stuff.
the effects were amazing. It's a great movie.
Yeah, like there's not much you can really hate about this movie. Like there's only like one specific thing I really hate at the end, but no, like Matt said, Johnny Depp, the kills. I mean, Nancy is one of the best final girls, so like you can't be mad at Nancy and her Home Alone and that shit real fast. It's a great first movie of a franchise. So again, there's not much to really hate.
Yeah. I think in particular the opening scene with not just the opening scene, but the first two scenes with Tina as she's initially having that first nightmare that she goes through in the tunnel, and then that scene where he shows up and his arms are like stretched out throughout the whole hall and it's like scratching on the wall, stuff like that. That was the first I saw Freddy, which I didn't bring up in the beginning, how we all got introduced to Nightmare. But that scene was, that scene was the first that I got to see. Yeah, that the stretching of the arms and the whole "this is God," like that's just beautiful fucking cinema. And the music too. The music just did it. Like they just had something different with it. Like I know when you go through different franchises, there's all sorts. There's all sorts of different scores that really do it, but this one in particular was just spot on. So I mean, between that, Nancy's performance is just like you guys said, one of the all-time great final girls, without question. And Johnny Depp for his part, that is one of the best kills throughout horror history, easily, for the creativity, the way it was shot, and everything.
Not to mention, this is also the film that basically created New Line Cinema, which gave us Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a shit ton of other fantastic. Like this movie did so well, it bankrolled not only the entire franchise, but took New Line Cinema from somebody who was just basically showing movies for different production companies and things like that to being their own company and producing. It took 3 years to make this movie, and they killed it.
100%. Yeah. So, do we have any kills for the first one?
Yes, but I'll let Katie go first.
That fucking blow up doll. Like, what the fuck was that?
I just found it funny.
I was just like, no, I don't. Well, that's like the only thing I don't really like about this movie is the blow up doll part. Everything else is fine.
And that's one of mine. I'm with Katie. Like, Wes Craven never liked the ending. He was never on board for it. But Robert Shea wanted to do it because he wanted to leave it open for a sequel because he thought, oh, there's sequel potential here. You know, all of these first-time directors think that they're going to do a one-off, except for Sean Cunningham. Sean Cunningham was in it for everything, but you know, Wes Craven, John Carpenter, like, oh, this isn't going to be a thing, and then boom, it blows up and it's a thing. They never expect it to be. So the ending, it's never sat right with me. I've always thought it was fucking stupid, weird. I get it's to show that Freddy's still alive, but I've never liked it. I also personally have never liked that opening scene with Freddy where his arms are stretched out. I always thought it was fucking kind of corny. Like, it never really, like, the big fucking blow up doll, or not blow up doll, what are those things called? The inflatable tube men arms. Yeah. He's got stretched across the fucking alley. I get it, you can't run away, but like, also, I feel like I could limbo under that motherfucker and he wouldn't be able to suck him in fast enough to get me. Like, I don't know. That has never done it for me. I've never liked that scene. I've got some fun facts, unless you've got some kills.
I don't really, though. That's the thing. Like, I was never crazy about the ending because I felt like if you were gonna leave it open ended, you know, you didn't have to take us through the whole, oh, the sun's out and everyone's okay again and stuff like that. Like, you didn't have to go that route with it. The whole, I like and I don't like the Home Alone sequence with like all the stuff she's throwing at Freddy and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you're just making him look like a complete clumsy, goofy ass. And I'm like, after everything we've done up to this point, it kind of just, I get it and I didn't like it at the same time. But I was like, I can live with it. It's no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the improvised traps and shit like that, it was all right. Yeah. I get what they were going for, and again, like you said, they made Freddy clumsy, but at this point, Freddy hadn't been anything else but that. You know, it's kind of like looking at Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2, where he's tripping over himself and falling over himself the entire movie, and it's like a blooper fucking reel of Jason because Jason hasn't been established yet. So,
yeah, it is true. It's true.
Fun facts: one, Nancy should have had her ass whooped by her parents long before this because she didn't listen to shit. Like, she is that entitled white child that her parent, like, she doesn't give a fuck. The way she talked to her mom,
yes.
The fact that dad's like, you're not going to school today, you're going to stay home, your friends died, and she just goes out and starts hanging out with a dude that's accused of murdering her best friend and is like trying to stop the police from catching this dude. Like, no respect for her parents whatsoever. She needed to be spanked long before this ever happened, and she might not have survived if she had. That's a fair assessment, but still, like, outside of the context of a ghost in your nightmares murdering you and all of your friends, you're just a shitty child who has no respect for parents. It was left out that Freddy was a rapist, so he was just a child murderer as per the final cut of this, and the reason for that is there was a lot of political stuff going on in the 80s around rape and all of that, so they decided to leave it out of the movie because it was a hot button topic. So originally Freddy was raping and murdering these children, and they said, you know what, we're not going to do that, but the remake brings it back. They're like, we're going to go back to what he was supposed to fucking be and make him super fucking evil. And then last but not least,
it was still kind of implied too, the way he was acting anyway. So
yeah, but
it wasn't direct, but there was just like little things that made you say, okay.
It's weird because, like, we know that these characters are in their 20s, they're not actually teenagers,
right?
So when she's a 16-year-old in high school and Freddy's doing this, it doesn't really register to you that, hey, he's doing this to a 16-year-old, but she's still 15, 16, like, she's still in high school. Her and her friends are still in high school. I don't even if they're seniors, she's what, 17,
18
at
yeah.
most.
Legal in Illinois, but not everywhere. Glenn was actually supposed to be Charlie Sheen, and Charlie Sheen wanted too much money, so they said fuck you and went with Johnny Depp. So we could have seen Charlie Sheen as Glenn instead of Johnny Depp.
Damn. Bet you Charlie Sheen wouldn't have got blue balls. Motherfucker's got tiger blood.
Jesus.
But yeah, that's all I got for fun facts from this movie. it's the beginning of the franchise. It's, you know, it's not. I think unanimously we'll talk about everyone's favorite here in a couple movies. I think that's generally the general consensus, but it's definitely in the top echelon of Nightmare movies for Freddy. So we haven't really got Freddy's personality yet. Like, this Freddy was not the witty one-liner WWE superstar of fucking horror movies that he becomes.
True. Most definitely. Well, with that, we are going to move on to part 2, and I can't wait to hear the synopsis that you have for this one, because if you know anything about this movie, this one features a protagonist who is very, I guess, effeminate. We'll say.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
All right.
Take it away.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's back, or as it's become known, the gay nightmare. Freddy's back, and this time he found himself a sexually confused meat puppet. We follow Jesse, a teenager who had the misfortune of moving into the Thompson home. While Jesse struggles to figure out if he's gay or straight, Freddy comes out of him like it's the closet door and murders all sorts of people. Lisa, Jesse's unsuspecting beard, doesn't know he's gay, despite him leaving her constantly to go see his friend in his bedroom. She ignores all of the red flags while trying to help Jesse figure out what's going on, and in the end helps him repress his inner demons and live a normal life as a straight man. However, Freddy is still in there, and we see with Freddy driving Jesse's bus off the sexual cliff of truth at the end of the movie that maybe it's not over and Dick is in his future, as well as Freddy. Dude.
Fucking hate you.
This is honestly the nightmare that I remember the most from my childhood. Like, when I thought of Freddy, this movie, it was the bus. For whatever reason, the bus scene stuck with me more than anything from the first movie. Him being on the bus, him feeling awkward, and then the ending bus where Freddy's arm comes through the girl's chest and they drive off over the cliff and they do that whole thing. Like, for whatever reason, out of all of them as a child, this one really stuck with me the most, is like how I remembered Freddy. But this is I don't know if it's a stab or a thrill. So let's go with the thrills. Again, kill scenes, very, very inventive kill scenes. As someone who is pro LGBTQ, I am all for all of these sexual and homosexual undertones that apparently no one but the guy who wrote the script knew they were making when they made this film, from the coach being in the BDSM bar and then getting literally whipped and pelted with balls in the shower naked, to Jesse dancing in his underpants, visiting his friend in his room when he could be with a girl, leaving her after licking her to go see his friend. All of these different, them wrestling around and pulling each other's pants down in the baseball field. There's a lot here that apparently no one, when they were making the movie, was like, oh, hey, yeah, this is out there. But the guy who wrote it said, like, it was big at the time. Also, shout out for them casting an actual gay man who wasn't out as gay, so they didn't know, as the lead. And it is one of the only movies that we have that has a final male who screams like a final girl, but neither here nor there. Taking on Freddy. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it is for thrills, it's the movie that stuck with me the most. The barbecue scene where Freddy jumps out and fire's shooting out, everyone's running, he's just killing people. Him bursting out of Jesse's body in Jesse's friend's room with the parents outside the door. What?
I didn't say anything.
We're friends.
We're friends. Listen, this movie's homoerotic as fuck. What do you expect?
Oh man,
it's a little gay.
A little.
That's okay. It's a lot gay.
I mean,
whatever.
Listen, that whole thing just takes you on a ride, man. Like, but it's also the one that stuck the most for me, specifically with that scene with Freddy, because I had no idea what the hell's going on. All I know is, like, Freddy is crawling out of this guy's body, and he just goes on a rampage, slashing up everybody at the party. Like, that what stuck out to me throughout this movie the entire time. Like that was a crazy scene. But no, I mean the undertones were they weren't even under. They were just there the entire movie. This dude wakes up every day. This dude wakes up in a cold sweat and you just see his tighty whities on as he's getting out of bed. And I mean, like once he shows up to Rod's house and it's like something is trying to get inside my body. He's like, yeah, she's female. She's waiting for you in the cabana, and you want to sleep with me. Like,
right there.
Oh man, like it was all over the place. And this coach, like the thing that to this day, I'm just like, you know, it's real interesting for you to have this morality that you're stopping one of your students from drinking, but you yourself are in a BDSM or gay, whatever it is, bar that you got going on here, dressed to the nines and your shit. Like, I don't know how much moral high ground you're trying to take here.
Why would he not have moral high ground? He is a grown-ass adult who is in a consensual situation doing grown-ass adult things, Reek. I am sure there are things that you have done in the privacy of your own home or maybe a parking lot or somewhere that people might not necessarily all agree with, but it was between two consensual adults and there was nothing wrong with it. Like, there is nothing wrong with this man being gay, being at a gay bar, being dressed up like he's Rhea Ripley in a gay bar. Like, none of this is an issue. Was he not wearing Rhea Ripley's ring gear?
He absolutely was. He absolutely was.
Whatever.
Like, just watch
I bet
that
he walked
scene
into
back.
that bar and did the stomp. Like,
yeah. Watch that scene back and take a look at Rhea and tell me he's wrong.
No, I will not.
Props to them for doing this movie and dealing, in the 80s with these themes and things that were, the 80s was when AIDS and all of this stuff happened and it was a very big hype, but we still didn't have any. I mean, obviously we have a long way to go as far as gay rights go, but we had nowhere near the amount of rights that we do now in most states and things like that. So, this was a very ahead of its time film for dealing with those themes. So props to them for doing that. And, dealing with the confusion of a young boy who wasn't sure if he liked vagina or penis.
It's a confusing time.
Well, I think he made it clear that the dancing scene, if you had any confusion up until that point, that put the nail in the coffin right there. Quite simple. But I also really did like this Freddy. Like it was that departure from the comical one-liner. Like it was just all not totally serious, but it's more of a menacing Freddy. You saw like his eyes were red and he didn't have a glove. The knives were just coming directly out of his hand, and it was just like it was a no bullshit Freddy throughout the whole way. Like very, very few comical quips and just more of just getting straight to the point, which never gonna be mad at.
No, Freddy didn't care. He was just like, I need someone. It's you now. You have no choice. Plain and simple.
Yeah. You got any other thrills, Katie? Or
you guys said all mine, so it's okay.
What about kills? You got any kills?
I didn't like the coach. Like, I'm sorry. I wasn't a fan of him at all.
He was the stereotypical like gym coach, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, he found two guys that he figured were knuckleheads, and he just fucked with them throughout the whole movie.
I wasn't a fan.
For me, it was the mutant dogs and rat at the end of the movie that looked fucking terrible.
Yeah.
If you guys have listened to any of our shows, or if this is the first one you're listening to, I am huge on continuity and this departure of Freddy being something in your dreams, and this going forward being the only movie where he takes on a human avatar to use as a doorway to come through into the real world bothered me, because that's not how his fucking powers work. And if you weren't going to make a continuity after the fact, then this is a departure from that, and that is a kill for me, because that bugs the shit out of me. But really, that's, like I said, this movie itself along with the shower scene from the original 1990 miniseries Stephen King's It, are two of the reasons why I hated taking showers. Like, I would only take baths for a long time. I would not take showers because it was either I was going to get pelted with balls and whipped by Freddy, or a clown was coming out of the fucking drain. Both things were terrifying. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't fuck with showers for a very long time because of this shit.
That's a good point. I hated the dad. It's just, how can you be so oblivious to everything that was going on after a certain point? It was just like, dude, it's just, I understand being set in your ways, but it's like, you watch the bird explode and ignite in flames, and you're like, oh, you gave him a goddamn cherry bomb, didn't you? Like, what? Really?
Well, no, Reek, let me ask you a question. How many times in your life have you ever seen a bird just spontaneously combust?
Never.
Okay, so if you have never seen something happen and then something happens, are you not going to try and think of a logical explanation?
I'm going to move the fuck out of that house. What I'm going to do.
That's also very smart. That's
a logical.
Very smart.
That's a logical reason.
Like, if I see some shit that doesn't make sense, I'm leaving immediately. He was just
the house
like,
to the ground.
Oh no.
Plus, that's what the bird got. It fucked up Dad's face anyway. So
there we go. There's clearly some demonic shit going on around this house. You know,
AC doesn't work. That sucks.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like 80 degrees in the house, and it just nothing. Toasters are lighting on fire without being plugged in. That doesn't seem like the Amityville Horror House to you?
This was the 80s. There were a lot of electrical fires. We didn't have the safety codes that we did now. Like, it was a wild time back then. You just plug in appliances and they burst into flames. Reek, it was the 80s. AIDS and flaming toasters. It was a thing.
Oh man. I don't know. You got me there. Any more kills?
Well, I don't know if it's so much of a kill, but both Brad Pitt and Christian Slater tried out for the role of Jesse and did not get it. So that's a thing. Like, we could have had Brad Pitt as Jesse doing all of the or Christian Slater doing all of the very surface level homoerotic scenes, which I feel like, because like Mark Patton, he had the perfect scream for a male that was a final girl, because it was still like a blood curdling, loud, high pitched scream. I don't see Brad Pitt or Christian Slater doing that. You're gonna lose that. It's gonna feel like a very different movie with them.
Yeah.
I've asked people frequently this, and they all agree he is the only male scream queen.
Yeah.
It's without a doubt.
Also, the fact that the main chick looked like Meryl Streep bugs the shit out of me when I watch it. I don't know why, but I look at her and I'm like, you have got to be Meryl Streep's daughter or granddaughter or some shit. Like, there's no relation. I looked it up, but she looks just like fucking Meryl
I
Streep.
can't picture her in my mind. So hold on.
I'm like that for the longest time. It bugged the shit out of me, and I was so certain. And I'm like, I'm gonna look this up, and there's no way. And then I saw, I forget what her name really is, but I'm like, there's no way. Like, split it fucking image.
She doesn't now, but in the movie, she did.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Yeah, she kind of does. That's weird.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Right on.
I don't like that.
Not see that now. Never gonna not see that now.
See what you do.
I do see what I do.
All right. All right. We all wrapped up with kills.
I think I'm good. I don't have any stabs. Yeah, I think we're good on the gay nightmare.
All right.
Oh God,
we're good.
I think we're good on the gay nightmare.
Yeah, you can't say that. All right, so now we're gonna get back to basics a little bit, and we're gonna get a more classic Freddy as we have, and we're gonna get a return of a classic character to the franchise as well. So for part 3, the Dream Warriors. Mr. Ritter.
Dream Warriors. The teen suicide rate in Springwood is higher than the murder rate in Chicago, and it's all Freddy's fault. The kids that fail to off themselves get sent to Weston Hills, And just so happens Nancy got herself some non-FDA approved dream suppressants and a psychology degree that got her a job at Weston Hills where her father used to work. On her first day, she meets Morpheus and a group of kids that, you guessed it, are dreaming about Mr. Christmas Sweater Murder Glove. What are you shaking your head for? That was Morpheus. Straight up Morpheus.
He was Larry first.
One even built a replica of her house out of popsicle sticks before trying to slit her own wrists or having them slit by Freddy. Freddy starts picking them off one by one, but Nancy teaches the kids that they are dream warriors and they all have superpowers in their dreams. We learn that Freddy's true origin story from the ghost of a raped nun, with their powers combined and Dr. Gordon's consecrating Freddy's bones, they defeat him, but not before he kills Nancy and her father. Bright side is they don't kill the black guys, so yay.
Very, very true. Very true. All right. What are our thrills from part 3?
Black guys don't die. Lawrence Fishburne and his name is escaping me right now. I want to say it's Rudy, and it's not fucking Rudy.
I thought it was. That sounds right. It definitely sounds.
Anyway,
it's Googleable. It's Googleable.
It is Kincaid. It's Kincaid. It's nowhere near Ruby. It's Rudy. It's Kincaid.
Okay, yeah.
Kincaid.
Right.
Kincaid and Lawrence Fishburne survive. Huge thrill. Kincaid has even gone on and things and said, "I was the first black man to survive a horror movie."
Yes,
blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So, shout out for that. Bringing Nancy back. I'm not going to take them all. Katie, go ahead and give some before I take them all away.
I mean, the kills in this one, I mean, specifically like the puppeteer one, it's one of the most famous kills in this franchise. It deeply grotesque and terrifying, but also oddly beautiful, if there's the glove. I mean, that, the welcome to primetime bitch, like that, the one-liners in this movie, that kill, like bringing Nancy back, like Matt said, that, I mean, if it's not the original that's your favorite, it's this one. Like, this is, in my opinion, the second best movie in the franchise. So,
I also forgot to mention that Freddy turns into a giant dick and then eats a girl.
That also, yeah, that absolutely does
that
happen.
happens. That's a thing.
Yeah, like I loved everything about this. Like, she hit the nail on the head. Like, if it wasn't the original, it was this one. And you know, the original is just because, you know, most of these franchises have, you know, the best movie is the original, but this one kind of just like, it really took. I love that everyone had their own like secret kind of power in the dream world, and like, yeah, the kid had the screams where all the mirrors broke and stuff like that. That was really dope. The dude that had the magic power or whatever,
the wizard,
stuff like
that. He was the dungeon master.
Yes, he was fucking dope as shit. I hated like he just got run over by his chair and shit. But I mean, look, the scene was dope as shit. But I mean, then there was like what's her face that was the badass, and she had the knives. But then Freddy pulls up, he's got fucking needles coming out of his fingers. Like, that was sick, but it was beautiful at the same time. Like, that's some crazy shit. Like, there was so much creativity in like all the between Freddy and the kills and these characters. There's so much going all together. And then, like you said, with Nancy back in the mix and, you know, helping these guys kind of develop their own powers to fight Freddy off. Even that, you know, her dad, you know, being, you know, kind of getting his redemption a little bit, because he's gone into being a depressed drunk after what happened in the first movie. And, you know, now it's like, well, he gets a little bit of redemption going back to find Freddy's bones and stuff like that to finally kill him off for good. I like and hate at the same time the ending for Nancy, because it was clever by using the ghost of her dad, but at the same time, it's like, damn, you really killed Nancy, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, I love it and I hate it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful stuff. I loved it. But do we have any kills for part 3?
Yes, I do. One, what's Nancy's dream power? Everyone had dream power but Nancy? She told them they had dream powers, but she didn't fucking have one of her own to help save anyone, do
Couldn't save
anything.
herself. So
Couldn't save
That's right.
herself. Couldn't. Yeah, no, she was just like, you guys have powers in your dreams. I don't, but you do. Like, what the fuck was that? All of the parents in Springwood are shitty. Every single parent in Springwood is a shitty parent.
Yes.
This is Patricia Arquette, sister of former WCW World Heavyweight Champion David Arquette and star of the Scream movies, David Arquette's sister. It's her first film, and the woman that was her mom in the film was a shitty parent because she's like, "Hey, kid,
Yes.
keep it down. I've got someone I'm trying to fuck over here.
Yep.
Why are you still awake? Go to sleep so mommy can get her fuck on." Yeah, shitty parents.
Love it.
This isn't so much a kill. Is like, my question is, what the fuck do Kincaid and Joey tell the cops?
That's a good question. It's honestly a good question. Because, you got me there. You got me there. Because Joey was the mute one, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Joe was a mute one, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he found his voice in at least his dream. So the next movie, he's fucking talking. So obviously they can talk to the cops, but like, what do you tell the cops? Because first off, you're gonna get Lawrence Fishburne in trouble because fucking Morpheus just let this chick back in after people had committed suicide under her watch. We're just like, yeah, it's okay, come back in. And then she commits suicide, supposedly, like that's how they're gonna view it, along with all of the other kids except for Kincaid and Joey. They're the only ones that survived. Well, and Patricia Arquette. Yeah. But
they got me there. I don't know, man. That's a damn shame.
I would love like just a mini series of like after the fact things where people are dealing with like the cleanup and the cover up and like just trying to explain to the cops what's going on and where these people end up that we never see again from horror movies.
That's food for thought.
I would like to see it. Somebody make it.
That's all I've got. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The line "I'm beautiful and bad in my dreams. I'm beautiful and bad." It's fucking cheesy as shit. Like the death is cool. You got the little fucking mouths where her heroin tracks and shit are that are like give me heroin. That was great. Freddie with the fucking heroin needle fingers, fantastic. But that whole line with the fucking mohawk and the switchblade, just every time I roll my eyes when I hear it. I'm beautiful and bad.
Yeah. It is kind of cringy in hindsight.
It was the 80s. I get it, but
no, you can only get a pass for that for so long. I feel like the doctor only had use in like the last couple minutes of the movie when they were going to get Freddy's bones, shit like that. Like he was just sitting there. I mean, in hindsight, it's like, listen, you can only deduce what you know to be logical. Like these kids are telling you that, oh, something's happening in their sleep, and it doesn't make any sense. All you see is people dying, and it looks like they're committing suicide. I get it. But, I mean, you brought Nancy in because she's an expert on the topic, and you're just sitting there just in disbelief and not really going along with this. Like, you're just like, oh, well, this doesn't make any sense. You don't know what you're talking about. And it takes you going through this entire movie, getting to the very end, to the point where it's like, oh, well, now you're seeing it for yourself. When they have their little group session and everyone goes to sleep, and then you see for yourself, oh, this is real. This is really going on here. And then you wind up having to be the one kind of put an end to all of this when it's all said and done.
Imagine you go to college, you get a degree, you become a psychologist, you get assigned a psych ward, and you're there to help these kids. And this woman comes along who is an expert in dreams and things like that. And these kids are all having bad dreams. You think that it's just bad dreams. And then she tells you they're not just having bad dreams. There is a ghost in their dreams murdering them, and they're not committing suicide. I don't think in reality, in our world outside of the horror movie film, you, Reek, as a psychiatrist, just be like, oh yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. You know, I'm with you. I'm on board. Let's do some shit. Like, you are also going to be like, this bitch is fucking crazy, but I also kind of want to fuck, so I'm gonna see where this goes. Because that was basically his whole mentality. He spent the majority of the movie trying to fuck Nancy until he realized she was telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, now I got to do some shit.
Yeah,
because
that was the other thing.
If you're not trying to fuck Nancy, you are not going to go find her dad, talk her dad into going and digging up some dead guy's bones and lighting them on fire.
Yeah. That was the other part of it too. I got some like I don't think the age gap was as much, but it kind of gave me like the Halloween 3 vibes a little bit. Like, I don't feel like this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is the kind of relationship you want to be cultivating here, but
you mean you have an issue with grooming? Because I thought you were pro grooming.
Oh my god. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Moving on. I also, this isn't so much a kill for me, just something that you could have saved until the next movie. The ghost of Amanda Kruger, like, if you were going to tell this story in the next movie, you could have just saved that arc for it, because all it does here is kind of just like, oh, well, Freddy had a mother and there's a past somewhere there and stuff like that. It fit more going forward in the next movie, or 2 movies rather, because it didn't really do a whole lot in this movie for me personally.
Right.
Katie, you got anything else?
No.
All right. So now we are moving on from our OG cast, and we're moving on to our Survivors of the Dream Warriors in part 4, known as the Dream Master. Take it away.
Yeah. So Freddy's back to finish what he started by offing Kincaid, Joey, and Kristen, who has a lot of plastic surgery because she is completely unrecognizable from the last film. It's like she's a whole new person on a Tuesday night. Somehow they all got released from Weston Hills and are living normal teenage lives, but none of them get to graduation. Unfortunately, Kristen pulls her shy, quiet friend, the sister of a dude she's banging, Alice, into the whole mess and into her dreams, because that is her dream power. She can suck you in, and this poor unsuspecting girl who did nothing wrong her entire life gets sucked into the hell world that is the existence of Freddy. Kincaid and Joey don't believe that Freddy's back until they get killed by Freddy. They're like, Kristen, leave us the fuck alone. We're just trying to sleep. Cut your shit. It's fine. Everything's good. Kristen dies. Kincaid dies. Joey dies. Now, poor Alice has got the power to pull people into her dreams, or at least get into other people's dreams, and she has no idea what the fuck's going on. Now she's got a group of friends that are being killed by Freddy while taking naps in school and other places, and she just shows up and has to sit there and watch, and Freddy's just taunting her like, you don't know what you're doing, you can't do shit, and murdering them. And every time one of them dies, their dream power, which they didn't even know they fucking had or how to use, goes to her, and then she gains that power, and she becomes kind of like a fucking Megazord of dream powers.
I was gonna say
where once all of them combined, yeah exactly. So basically her dream power is copying other people's strengths after they're dead. Like the Megazord, when all of them come together, Alice becomes the person she wishes she was, defeats Freddy with his own reflection because of a poem or a thing that she read somewhere about evil seeing evil. She recites it before she makes him look at himself, and the glass shatters, and then he just
I will say this has some more of my favorite kills. There's the waterbed kill, which is classic. The one where what's the fucking guy's name? He was drawing the sketches of him and Freddy just
book
cuts him the fuck up. I love that one.
Yeah. Super Freddy.
Yeah, Super, Super Freddy. That was dope. The
cockroach kill.
Yes, the Roach Motel. That's classic shit. I gotta love that one. And was it Sheila that had the asthma?
Yep.
I can't
Want to
help
suck
that.
face?
Yeah. Some of that witty, corny humor, but some beautiful kills to go with it. And this was the one with the pizza, right? Alice was in the diner. Or was that next one?
That's the next one.
That's okay. All right, I'll save that. But yeah, so it's definitely some of my favorite kills in here.
I think so.
What's
I'm looking. I thought it was this one.
I'm pretty sure Dream Child is the one with Alice in the diner. I don't think she was working at this point. And the whole diner scene that's the diner that she's working at while she's pregnant. And that's also where they keep running back to, because Dan, she's not even dating Dan at this point. Dan doesn't become her boyfriend until the second movie.
It says
when she goes in the loop, right?
4.
No, I think that was
Yeah.
part 4, because they were on their way to go save what's her name that was doing the bench, and that's where he was there, where Freddy was there and crushes her, which is another one of my favorite kills too. Yeah, because that then she turns into the roach, and the roach goes into the thing, and then he crushes it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm not right on a lot. Just let me have this.
4 and 5 suck. So
they
do. Terrible.
They do. We'll get to it. But yeah, no, that's some enjoyment. It's not my favorite Freddy. Not the worst in my opinion, but we'll get there. But yeah, it was decent for what it was. I'm gonna leave it for kills, but there's plenty. There's plenty here, but we're on thrills. So.
I like the dog pissing fire to bring Freddy's bones back. That was fun. I like that Joey's weakness is boobs. Because
Same.
Why not?
Want to be clear, this is because they make this distinction and they're fucking wrong. It was never Freddy's house. Freddy never lived in that fucking house. It was Nancy's house.
Right.
I don't know why they call it Freddy's house, because he didn't fucking live there. And this was the highest grossing, surprisingly, nightmare film of the franchise. Well,
Really?
because 4 was so good, everyone came back to watch 5 thinking it's going to be great.
Oh, boy, were they disappointed.
Yeah. Which is why, or they went to see 3 and then came back to see 4, which is why 5 was not outgrossing this one, because this one is a little bit of a letdown. But props to them for this being the highest grossing nightmare film.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, we're not at the worst yet, but we are getting there.
You got any thrills, Katie?
I mean, you talked about all the kills. I really like Greta's when she's like in the high chair and getting like force fed. It's
forgot about that one.
That is 5.
No, that's 4. I think.
No, that is
sure?
definitely 5.
Is that 5?
That is definitely 5 because
Alice
graduates in that one.
Yes,
that's 5.
Well, because then the comic book is 5.
Yes, it is.
So
Reese got me all fucked up because the dude in the comic book was in love with Greta.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why I.
Hey, I'm not the only one fucked up here. Yay.
Hey, we all suck. Woo!
Like I said, 4 and 5 were a fucking mess. And they kind of blend together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
and we'll talk about why they blend together when I do my recap. But other than that, yeah. No, Greta was 5. Comic book was 5. So this had the suck face, the Roach Motel.
Yep.
The
waterbed.
The
waterbed. Kincaid not dying, but like being trapped in a junkyard and screaming for help.
Yeah.
To death.
Which,
and then
nice closure there. It's Freddy's back. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
And then our newly crowned Kristen being murdered on a beach by Freddy when she thinks she's just gonna relax and have a good time. Oh, and then her brother who got killed by Invisible Freddy.
Oh yeah,
doing shitty kung fu,
martial arts guy.
Which is a spit. That entire scene is a kill. That entire fucking scene is a kill. Spit, kill, whatever. I hated him. I hated the cheap, lazy fucking kung fu shit.
Oh,
I hated the fact that for whatever reason they couldn't put Freddy in the scene, so he's fighting nothing but a floating fucking glove.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fuck out of here with that
terrible.
shit.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
It's worse than I remember too.
Oh, it's awful.
It's honestly probably the worst fucking kill in the franchise.
It just might be. Just might be. Yeah.
It's definitely up there in bad ones.
Oh. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a kill. That's a big kill.
It's not a spit. It's a kill. It's the wrong show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what the issue was that they couldn't get Patricia Arquette back here, but just seeing this whole different person automatically kind of just took me out of it from jump. I'm like, oh, okay, you got the wrong person. This is not going to be good already.
If you didn't catch my joke in the recap, her name is Tuesday Night.
I got it.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, props to her. Like, she did fine, but us knowing Kristen as Patricia Arquette right before, like, she got put in a shitty position.
I believe, if I remember what happened, is Patricia Arquette blew up, and her agent was asking for more money than Robert Shea was willing to fork over for her to come back.
I thought Patricia Arquette got pregnant, and that's why she didn't do it.
I don't think so.
Don't remember that from the documentary that I watched. I thought they said that
I didn't watch
she was doing more movies.
She wanted too much money.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the documentary. I forgot. I'm sorry. I watched these a while ago.
You had 2 years to watch that documentary.
I
thought we were all watching it around the same time. Because I remember when he told me about it and I watched it, and I thought we were all watching it.
I was going to. I don't know what happened. I'm going to be honest. My bad, guys.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's what they said was her agents were asking for too much money. I think she wanted to do it, but her agents wanted too much money, and Robert Shea was like, listen, I'm not paying someone that much money to do this movie. I'll just go get someone else.
Yeah.
Because Robert Shea, who, by the way, has forced himself into multiple movies. He was the bartender in 2.
Yeah, he makes a lot of cameos in the movies.
And so does his sister, who's actually more famous for the Insidious movies.
True.
The teacher in the first Nightmare on Elm Street is Lynn Shay, Robert Shea's sister. And she is in Insidious.
Yep.
Very true.
Oh, love her. Elise.
Yeah.
I'm stalling because I don't want to talk about 5, but anyway, go ahead.
I was not a fan of the dog pissing fire. I thought that was just lazy as shit. Funny. I laughed at it, but it was just lazy to me. Kristen's mom is an irresponsible cunt, and she killed her daughter. Point period. You put sleeping pills in her dinner or whatever it was, and she died because of you. Just gonna
again, shitty parents.
Yeah.
Shitty moms being shitty moms, shitty momming.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I also have that. After everything that fucking happened, her mom drugged her.
Yeah.
For all of that.
That's so fucked up.
Fucked up. That's so fucked. Yeah. Right.
That was not cool. And the ending, like reflection. Like, this is what we're doing now. This is what we reduced to.
That whole thing is so dumb.
Like, how many times has he seen this reflection before this? And just because she said it was some kind of incantation or something like that. That she was
calling it a rhyme. It didn't fucking rhyme.
It didn't at all. It was just something that was written that she had to say, and yeah, I hated it. I hated every second of it. It was bullshit.
Yeah. I hate that I unironically, and I realized this a few weeks ago, I unironically say hello, baby, to my friends, and it's because of this fucking movie. And I'm mad.
Man.
And I'm mad. I didn't realize it, and then I was remembering what happened in each of one of these movies, because 3, 4, and 5 gotta start to blend together. And so god damn it.
It's rough. It is rough.
It's terrible.
Well, if we're done with kills, I guess we have to transition into part 5. Where,
We have to.
oh yeah, because something's brewing in that oven, and it's a boy. Spoiler alert. Take it away.
Dan and Alice fuck. Just like every teen nightmare, or every teen's nightmare, just like every teen's nightmare. Jesus fucking
There you
Christ.
go.
Alice gets pregnant for the very first time. Fuck, one time, pregnant right off the bat. Luckily, her and Dan are graduating high school with their new friends, but Alice's baby is dreaming in the womb, and apparently that gives Freddy enough power to come back to life through baby dreams, which they dream all the time, so Freddy is always fucking active. You know what that means? Freddy's back, fueled by an unborn baby, and this allows him to infiltrate Alice's dreams. Alice, who clearly learned nothing from the last movie, tells her friends about Freddy, and now they're infected with the fear STD that Mr. Christmas Sweater Murder Glove has instilled in them. Her friends start dying, including the baby daddy, and Alice is seeing how ugly her kid is going to be when he grows up in her dreams. Freddy tries to turn the embryo against Alice by pointing out that she's thinking about getting an abortion, but the kid is a mama's boy at heart and turns on Freddy with the help of Freddy's mom and her unborn son. Alice performs a super late term abortion on Freddy, and Alice and Yvonne raise the baby together as lesbians.
Hey, right.
Oh, God.
So, with everything that's going on, props to Nightmare on Elm Street 5 for handling abortion and women's rights and them growing up to raise this child together as lesbians and having the choice to do so. So, like,
Wow.
props to Nightmare on Elm Street 5 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Again, ahead of its time.
It really was. I mean, they did great things. Today they aren't doing great things, but you know.
I actually have in here, this is the pro-choice nightmare. That is one of my notes.
I mean, yeah. Can't say you're wrong.
Real.
Oh,
For real.
that's kind of it. That's really kind of
Well, no,
it.
it's not kind of it. This had Greta. This had the comic book kill that you enjoyed.
Super Freddy.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not much. Like, yeah, there's that kill. I love that kill. There was Greta as well. But
Dance was cool.
There's not much else. Like
the best part.
Oh yes, yes. Dan's on the motorcycle. Right? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Gotta give it that one. Yeah.
For me, I think the best part of this movie, because I'm pretty sure Amanda Kruger was in the last one, kind of guiding them, and we found out that it was Amanda Kruger at the end of this. But here we got the origin story of how Freddy was born, the son of 100 maniacs, her being locked in. This is where the mythology comes in. So that is the one thing about this movie that I appreciate, because I love mythology. We know why he is a fucked up murdering rapist, because it is in his DNA, because 100 murdering rapist psychopaths raped his mom, knocked her up, and we don't know. I mean, obviously there was the one guy that looked like fucking Robert Englund in there, so that was clearly the one, but you never know, you know. It's a fucking horror movie where a ghost goes into your dream and murders you. So all that semen could have just like fused together into one super semen and made an evil demon baby, which I probably what happened. Alice also watches Freddy be born, and apparently he was born an evil demon child as well. So thrills, kills, that stuff, mythology. Alice came back and it was still Alice. That was a plus. We didn't recast Alice.
True.
Thankfully, we could get through the end of this arc with some continuity. Yeah.
There's
And the pro-choice nightmare. Those are the thrills. Anyone got anything else?
Yeah,
nope.
I wasn't crazy about like the whole thing with like Jacob. Wasn't crazy about that, and especially not the final sequence of that when he like flipped his face into Freddy's and shit. Like,
I am going to say this, and I want to be very clear. I am completely joking, but if I were to dream about my child and know that it was going to grow up to be that ugly, I might think about abortion too.
Wow.
I don't blame Alice a second. Once you figure that shit out, I would have thought about it too.
Well,
Actually, that's not true. You absolutely love your kid no matter what they look like. That's just the facts. Luckily, I had a really cute one, so if she grows up to look like Jacob, we're gonna
we're gonna talk.
Oh my god!
Let's get you in movies, kid.
Yeah.
Movies.
I don't even remember how they killed Freddy in this one.
This was the one where Alice had all of the powers and go ahead.
No, hold on. Never mind. I'm trying to think. I thought that one was 4, was with all the powers.
Yeah, 4 was with all the powers.
This one,
is the one. They turned Freddy into a baby, and she like stomped on the baby, right? Or she killed the fucking baby. Like Freddy got turned back into a baby by.
And then doesn't he get like sucked back into Amanda?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
She,
like
goes
it's a
out the
reverse
door?
birth, and then she goes and has a late term abortion, like super late term abortion.
Super.
Oh. Yeah. See,
it sucks.
Yeah, this is exactly why I don't remember this shit. This was terrible.
Yeah,
because they had to go release Amanda from the tower that she was trapped in.
Yeah,
and set her soul free.
Yeah.
And then that led to the ending.
Oh,
what a movie!
Oh,
This was also the lowest grossing Nightmare on Elm Street.
Rightfully so.
Never would have guessed.
I think we can just all agree this was dog shit.
That was terrible.
And then some. Oh.
Not because of the themes, just the execution.
Yeah. Any more thrills, kills? Anyone? Can we depart from this madness?
Let's get away from this movie.
All right. So we have our first fake ending because this was supposed to be the end, but you know how sequels go in movie business. You're never finished. So Freddy's dead, but not.
Nightmare on Elm Street 6, Freddy's dead, kind of. Freddy is back for the very last of the Elm Street kids and knocks the kid unconscious and gives him amnesia. As he struggles to remember who he is, he ends up in a halfway house for the homeless and troubled youth. It is here that he meets Maggie, who must also have amnesia because she completely forgot who her dad is, how he killed her mom, and that she snitched on him, got him sent to jail, and it led to his murder. Spoiler alert. As she tried to help this kid remember who he is, she also learns about her past and that her name was Catherine. And we dig deep into what made Freddy Mr. Christmas Sweater Murder Glove. That her dad holds a grudge, also big time, for years. Her 3 favorite abused children stow away in a van on the way back to Springwood, which is full of nutjob adults and 0 children, including Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold. After 2 of the kids and John Doe die, Freddy hitches a ride inside his daughter's head to escape Elm Street and Springwood and find a new playground because every town has an Elm Street. This leads to the worst 3D final showdown ever, where Catherine drags Freddy into the real world and kills him by throwing a bunch of sharp objects at him and shoving dynamite into his chest and blowing him up.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing. One of my favorite movies in this franchise, and I don't know fucking why. I absolutely love this movie, and here are my thrills, and here's why. Johnny Depp coming back, and Stoner Spencer's death, the whole this is your brain on drugs that Johnny Depp did, but Freddy coming in, hits that whole thing. I loved that. I love the fact that we find out how Freddy became fucking Freddy Krueger, that he made a deal with these fucking demons that gave him the power to do these things, that, the mythology behind the door that he is guarding to nightmares and how he's been guarding his door for a very long time and all of this. weird that we're just now talking about the fact that he had a daughter, but the backstory with like him murdering animals and then being beaten by Alice Cooper, who was also his dad. Cameo from Alice Cooper.
Oh man.
The whole Carlos with the ear. That whole thing. The girl who beats the shit out of her abusive dad and finally gets some, comeuppance on a lifetime of terror by, beating the shit out of and murdering her dad in her mind because he kept touching her and hurting her and doing bad, awful things. Like all of this, the mock power glove that they weren't supposed to use because Nintendo said no, and they said fuck it and did their thing anyway.
Oh god.
I don't know why, but I really fucking like this movie. I really don't. It's Billy Zane's sister. Like, that's cool too. Lisa Zane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. It's middle of the pack for me. Not too high, not too low. I mean, all those things. Now that you mention it, like it was pretty solid, and that whole opening scene was kind of like something out of the Twilight Zone. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
The whole Wizard of Oz thing.
Yeah,
where they're in the house.
And then he's on like the plane and stuff like that, and Freddy's like on a fucking broom and stuff. That was pretty. I was with that. He actually makes a literal Elm Street sign come out of the ground. That was pretty dope. I do like the backstory though. You're telling, because if you were gonna go that route and you're gonna give us like in the last movie where you kind of say how he's conceived and why exactly he turns out to be this way, then at least keep that train rolling. So you gave us further backstory of some childhood abuse and just keeps on rolling from there, and he commits a murder and everything like that, and he's got a daughter. I can deal with that. And the demons thing, you gotta give a proper explanation as to how he's able to come back to the realm of the real world in a sense. So I can get down with that too. So this is, like I said, it's middle of the pack for me. I'm not crazy about it. I don't hate it. It's not bottom of the fucking list for me, but yeah, it's right there on the fence for me, honestly.
Yeah, like it's okay. Like, yeah, it's definitely not the worst at all.
I did really like the Atari kill, and I listen.
I liked Freddy in it, but no, the him bouncing up and down the stairs and then falling in that part. I'm with you. That was definitely a kill. That was not. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
The idea that Freddy once lived in Nancy's house, which is not even really possible, because the idea that they would murder this man and then a cop would move into the house of a person that he murdered and live there.
Yeah.
Ain't no way.
Kind of weird.
Ain't no way.
The fact that Peter Jackson wrote a script for this and they didn't use it.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
He does some shit.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Well, Peter Jackson has a script that New Line did use, and it spawned one of the greatest trilogies of all time, so that's what's important. Do we have
also one of the worst trilogies of all time?
I haven't seen those yet. Don't ruin it for me.
Are you telling me not to ruin The Hobbit for you? Do you know how old the fucking Hobbit is?
Yeah, listen. I never
don't watch it. It's trash. It's fucking garbage. And if you do, only watch the first two. Definitely don't watch Battle of the Five Armies because it's fucking terrible. You're gonna be tempted. Like, I need to know how this ends. You don't, because it ends shitty, really, really shitty.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson did a lot of early horror before Lord of the Rings and all that, and I guess he wrote a script for this and they didn't use it. So that's a deal, because I would have liked to see Peter Jackson's version of this movie. Are we still on thrills and kills? Or Katie, you got any kills outside of what we talked about?
I mean, why did you have to make the ending 3D and do a piss poor job at it? Like, what the fuck was that about? That was
Not
so dumb.
only that, but then they had to have people in the theater tell the people when to put the fucking glasses on and like try and explain it and do a whole speech like when you see her put her glasses on, you put your glasses on. Like
it's
it was
terrible.
fucking bad.
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Why?
And I guess everyone had a point where they had to try and fail with 3D, like Friday the 13th. I think part 3 was in 3D, and
Except for Halloween.
Yeah.
Jaws did 3D.
We almost got a 3D, but it would have been a Rob Zombie, and I don't think that would have flown too well.
No,
that would have been terrible.
Yeah, god awful. All right, so thrills and kills were good.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to go into somewhat of a, I guess, alternate timeline in a sense. We're getting our OG cast back, but they are their normal selves. They are not the characters that they played. In fact, we are entering the metaverse, which is becoming a thing at this point in time.
Much shit.
Well, but yeah, so we're entering a bit of the metaverse here, where everyone's a little bit more self-aware. And New Nightmare, take it away.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Wes Craven invents meta horror before Wes Craven invents meta horror. Wes Craven wants to revive Freddy and bring Heather Langenkamp back for one final nightmare because he's having really scary dreams again. However, she's married now and a mom and has retired from horror because she had a stalker that kind of fucked things up for her. There are all these random earthquakes. Heather starts dreaming about Freddy, getting phone calls and mail. Her son's having episodes and seizures and talking about Freddy. And she soon realizes, oh shit, I'm living the movie that Wes is writing. She finds out that Freddy isn't Freddy, but an ancient evil that took the form of Freddy and was trapped inside the story until the franchise ended, and now it is free. Freddy continues to come for Heather and her son, killing along the way, including her husband. She soon realizes her reality has become a nightmare film, and finally Freddy gets her son, drags him into his world, where Heather has to follow him, and has one final showdown with Freddy in a weird, sick, sexual showdown.
Good way to describe
it. Basically. This is actually like probably second favorite after Dream Warriors, to be honest, because I mean, we talked about like the meta thing, but it's just the fact that as time goes on, she kind of realized the fact that, oh shit, like I'm living the script now. Like we went from, looking at the script, reading it, and wanting me to come back and play this role again to, well, all of a sudden now I'm in it. Like her son is like seeing this images and things like that. It's almost kind of like Poltergeist, where the little girl can kind of see what's going on through the TV, but he's got his little dinosaur that's getting like scratched up and torn the stuffing out by Freddy. Like there was a lot of cool shit they did with that. But Freddy going on the talk show as Robert, but you see the little kind of undertone of, oh, this is kind of like sinister in a sense. The metal glove that they were working on, that they kind of started off the movie with, basically. That was pretty dope. I love that. The demon Freddy, this was like the first kind of look at that Freddy. It was completely different. Like the hand and the claw was bigger and more terrifyingly looking. Yeah, bone, and it's just like scary looking. And this Freddy was nothing like any of the other Freddys. Like it was a little more freaky than Part 2's Freddy. Definitely.
Thumb claws.
Yeah.
Thumb claws.
That was dope.
Thumb knives.
I think the main thing to take away from this movie, if if you're not getting this, is Heather Langenkamp plays herself in this movie. Robert Englund plays himself. Wes Craven plays himself. Bob Shea plays himself. This is basically almost like a documentary after the fact of these people and their lives post filming a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And I'm assuming Dream Warriors, but maybe not. And wanting them, I mean, even the actor that played the father is here to come back and reprise these roles. And as Reek said, she's reading the script and she's reading things that Wes couldn't possibly know that was going on in her life. And then she gets to the point to where basically it's caught up to where she's at, and there's nothing more because the movie has not continued. She's reading the conversation she just had with Wes as though Wes had already written it, and it's freaking her the fuck out. Thrills, dude. This movie is so underrated and so fucking cool for what they did. The fact that at the end, Freddy turns into Satan before he blows up.
Yeah, pretty much.
That whole thing where they're sliding down the bed and they end up in this evil fucking, not to, steal a line from something else that I do, but sex dungeon that Freddy has that's full of water and fire. And, he's the tongue coming out for Heather and licking her and wrapping around her and going in her shirt and all over her body. And, Rex, this toy that, kids have stuffed animals that they feel safe and make them feel protected. And Rex was it for her son. He would sit at the bottom of the bed and he would protect him. And it had claw marks taken off it because Freddy took a swipe at it, but Rex was protecting him. The fact that they thought she was a terrible mother until they watched the fucking babysitter get murdered and had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
And this is where you can break the rules of Freddy, because this isn't really Freddy. This is a Freddy movie outside of the universe of Freddy. So this is where you have a little more freedom to do things that we haven't seen before and kind of bend and twist the rules, because it's not really Freddy Krueger and it's outside of the universe that they have created. So a lot of what they did here, I could appreciate despite that. And there's so many callbacks to the original films, so many. When they basically go back into the film and the dad shows up and he's talking to Heather like it's his daughter, but she's all grown up. And she's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I'm not Nancy. Why are you calling me Nancy?
Yeah. I mean, that was the main thing I was going to say, was the callbacks to the first movie. I mean, the babysitter's kill is literally Tina's, except up the ante a little bit because the kid can see Freddy. So, and I think it's towards the end where Nancy's running up the steps and they're kind of like slime or whatever, and that happened, I think, in the first one. There was a shit ton of callbacks. The gray streak in her hair, everything. Like, it's just the little things they did. And it being meta as fuck is also really cool.
Yeah.
The first time I watched this, I had no idea what I was expecting, because I was like, wait, why the fuck is Heather Langenkamp in this? And then I grew to actually really like this movie. Like, I agree. Like, this is probably underneath 3 for me.
Yeah. And mind you, this is 2 years before Scream, so like Matt said, this was meta before we officially got introduced to meta. So that was pretty dope. I really like that. Do we have any kills?
As Reek said, and then I had to reiterate. I honestly, I can't even, like, I'm not a huge fan in the original of Heather Langenkamp's acting, but it was so much better in this movie. Obviously, she's an aged actress. She's got more experience, so on and so forth. But, like, her acting in this was great. There's really nothing off the top of my head that I can think of. I mean, her husband got stabbed in the dick. Like, Freddy was scratching his balls for him, and then, like, that whole thing happened. I there's really nothing in this that I'm like, you know what? I could have done without that.
Yeah. They really put this together well. I can't think of anything that I disliked out of this, truthfully.
It deserves so much more praise than it gets. Like, legit one of the best movies in the franchise, if not the best movie in the franchise.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
there were actual earthquakes that happened when they were doing this movie.
Yeah, they filmed through.
So the footage they see on the TV is footage from actual earthquakes.
Yeah, that's
See, I
some
know,
crazy shit.
I know shit too. Thank you. I stole it off Kill Count. It counts though.
Oh, well, listen, I consider Kill Count to be essential viewing, especially if you're trying to get caught up. James A. Janice is that dude. Which,
I
speaking
love
of,
James A. Janice.
since you brought him up, fun fact for all those of you watching, Heather Langenkamp actually was she was the ordained minister for his wedding. She actually she got certified and she officiated his wedding. So that was actually pretty dope.
Oh, there he is.
Is that new, or did you always have that?
I've had this.
I've never seen that before. That's pretty fucking dope.
I've seen that one. He used to be on his wall. I think, didn't Freddy fall?
Yeah, he fell.
Freddy fell. It happens.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But yeah, we stay in dead meat over here. So, were we all thrills, kills? Everyone's good.
My question is, are we talking about the remake?
Well, since we got through this fairly quick, and I think we just get into an hour and a half, we got some time. We want to get into the remake.
I am down to talk about the remake. If you guys are down to talk about the remake, there's not much of a synopsis here. Basically, it's a fucking reboot. It is Nancy. It's that story, except this time she's kind of an emo goth girl instead of being popular. She's got an emo kind of goth crush who likes her. She's working a job at a diner. Chris is really pretty and dies. Her boyfriend also dies before she does. And we get more in depth into the fact that Freddy diddled little kids and the whole psychology behind what sleep deprivation can and will do to you, as well as the fact that in this movie, Nancy and her pseudo emo boyfriend think that Freddy was actually a good person who was wrongly accused and try to defend him, and then find out they were very, very wrong. And Nancy was his favorite little plaything when she was a child, and apparently she just blocked all of that out. But this movie does not get I think it doesn't get the credit that it deserves, because unfortunately they cast is it Haley?
Jackie Earl Haley.
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah.
Instead of Robert Englund, and Robert Englund isn't a guy behind a mask. He is a face and a personality. This was back to the essence of the dark horror version of Freddy. We still had one-liners, but they weren't delivered with the same comical intent. They were definitely more sinister.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate about it. But because it wasn't Robert Englund, a lot of people fucking hate this movie. And I think it gets way more hate than it deserves. Personally.
I somewhat agree, although I was one of those people that wasn't too hard on Jackie, because it's like, obviously the tone wasn't meant to be like Robert. Like the goal wasn't for him to replicate that performance. It was just to make it your own. And from that perspective, it was like, I can see that I'm cool with that on that level. Although, like you said, the one-liners didn't do it for me. Like when he says, "Oh, how's this for a wet dream?" It actually kind of sounds like a legit rapist, which he winds up being. So, but no, I was all for the different tone of it. The characters, though, yeah, that I was not feeling this Nancy at all. Although Rooney Mara is a great actress, this was not it for me. The boyfriend, I think recreating Chris's death scene, kind of like Tina's, not a bad way to do it. I mean, you don't outdo the original, but not a bad way to replicate it or create it in your own way. But the rest of these characters just, it was so hard to get behind any of them.
But what you got to remember is they were shooting this movie for a completely different generation of kids than the ones that grew up on the original Nightmare on Elm Street series. Like this is the height of emo, you know, Dashboard Confessional and Kids Like Katie. Like this is Katie if she was in a fucking Nightmare movie. She's basically Rooney Mara. Like
Yeah. Basically.
So that's who this movie was for, is these emo kids with their painted fingers and their sad lives and their sad music and their feelings and all of the feelings. Katie Cassidy, fantastic, goes on to do fame in CW Arrowverse. Shout out to Super Flash Arrow of Tomorrow as Black Canary. I, for what it was, I enjoyed. Like, again, not necessarily my kind of white people, but I can hang out with these white people. Like, I don't hate these white people. They're not me. That's not how I do things. I'm a little older. I never got into emo music. Like, your hair is everywhere. Like, get the fuck out of here. Can't do that shit. It's not for me. But it's not for me. But I appreciate it for what it was. Like I said, I thought Jackie Earle Haley, given the shoes he had to step into, did a fantastic job. I look at this like Batman. You know, we've got Robin, we got Sparkly Vampire Batman, we've got fucking Jay and Silent Bob Batman, we've got Val Kilmer Batman, we've got George Clooney Batman, and we've got Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. Like, if Bruce Wayne can have all of these different faces and all of these different movies and it's okay, then fucking Freddy can be a different person too at some point. Like, it is, yes, Robert Englund made the character, but we can get a different variation of it. I appreciated that it was very dark, very, very dark, and back to being scary, and got away from the light, joking, laughing, happy Freddy, and tried to fucking scare you again.
Yeah. And shout out to the voice actor for Mr. Krabs, who, as much as I tried to take him seriously, every time he started screaming, I just heard Mr. Krabs in my head. So kudos to you for
Clancy
trying.
Brown.
Yeah, kudos to you
Love
for trying.
him.
But you're Mr. Krabs for life, buddy. Absolutely.
It's a shame.
Oh man. Kills, thrills.
Shitty parents.
Yes.
Shitty parents. Constantly just lying to their children, trying to deny the trauma, trying to deny the bad things that they did, and fucking their kids up beyond belief is a trend through all of these movies. And it continues here. Katie Cassidy's mom, Katie Cassidy, goes and finds like photos of her and her friends in preschool when they all got molested, and like the little dress she wore that he cut with his finger knives that apparently the mom kept for some reason. Like, the man is dead at this point. Is this evidence you're holding on to? Like, what kind of sick memento is that?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, same thing with Nancy's mom in the original. It's like, why are you keeping on to this like souvenir, essentially? Like, I would think that would go with everything else that you burned to the ground. No, I've never liked that whole, well, parents are playing dumb thing when your kids can clearly see that something is up. Like, oh, if you're telling me I never met this person up until now, but I'm literally looking at a picture of us all together in, was it preschool, kindergarten? Like, that's evidence, that's proof. Like, something is going on here, that all these people are dying. Which I did like the first opening scene with Dean and stuff like that. That scene was pretty dope. He seemed like he was going to be a cool character. He just killed him off in the beginning, but I guess somebody's got to bite it early. But no,
with a fucking steak knife to the throat too, in front of you. Like, and how does that fuck your girlfriend up? Like, you go to see your boyfriend, he's not doing well, and all of a sudden he just stands up and slits his own throat right in your face.
Yeah.
That's some crazy shit. Yeah, and I liked it because like that. It started off that way, so it kind of felt like it wasn't going to be exactly the same, which it wasn't exactly the same. It was quite a departure, but you know, it lets you know that we were headed in a different direction. So I could get down with that.
Yeah, and like Matt said before, like talking about the actual effects of sleep deprivation, micro naps, and something they do, I think specifically in the like cafe, library, whatever the fuck it actually is. They do something with the camera where he's in a micro nap, and it kind of just like, I can't explain what they do with it, but you can tell he is in a micro nap until Nancy comes and wakes his ass up. It's little things like that I really like to see. And it's a reboot, but on its own, like if you don't think about it as a reboot, it's pretty good. Like all things considered.
Well, it's kind of. I've said this with like a few different movies, but if you look at it just from the scope of just being the scary movie that it is, then you'll view it differently. Like if I tell people this all the time, again, I mentioned again about Halloween 3. If you look at it as with the Michael Myers lens on, you're gonna fucking hate it. But if you just look at it as just from the scope of it just being a scary movie that you can watch, it's very underrated. It's actually worth watching. Comes to be, the term you hear nowadays is cult classic, but it's true. And I initially, first time I watched it, I wasn't a fan of it, but coming around after, some years and watching with fresh eyes, I was like, it wasn't all that bad. Not my favorite, but wasn't as bad.
See, now you say the voice actor for Mr. Krabs, but I know Clancy Brown from a shit ton of stuff. That man is in everything, and he is always a fucking dickhead, including this movie. He was a shitty parent in this movie. He was a shitty officer in Shawshank Redemption. He was a shitty stepfather in Pet Sematary 2, which is the one that really sticks with me. That was like, I believe my first introduction to Clancy Brown was Pet Sematary 2, and that fucked me up. What else was Starship Troopers again? Dickhead. Dude, he's fucking dickhead in everything.
I don't watch that.
Oh man,
he was in Thor Ragnarok. I don't remember what he did in Thor Ragnarok, but I'm looking at it and it says he was in Thor Ragnarok, so that's the thing.
Huh.
He must have been one of those characters that didn't have like was it human or something? Because I don't remember seeing his face.
I don't either.
I don't know. I have to watch it back. I don't know. Well, you got anything else?
No, I think that's good. You want to rank the movies?
I was gonna say, like, we have a unanimous best, right? Out of them all.
I don't know. Do we?
Because I'm going with 3 personally.
I'm actually probably leaning towards New Nightmare in the scope of everything. And after we rewatched it back and everything, like I said, I couldn't think of anything from New Nightmare that I didn't like. I had slight gripes, just kind of joking gripes, but slight gripes with 3. In the scope of like the actual franchise outside of this metaverse thing, it would be 3. But Freddy movies starring Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger as a whole, I'm probably going to go New Nightmare as number 1 for me.
See, I'm going original, but like 3 is like a fucking close second.
Well,
so no, we're not unanimous.
That's fine. I mean, listen, it's hard to beat the original in most any franchises, but like I said, 3 really absolutely gave it a run for its money. So that's
fun
fair.
fact. Side note: Clancy Brown was the voice of Surtur in Thor Ragnarok.
Makes sense. He was the big giant flaming fucking death to Asgard.
It was Ragnarok.
Yeah, basically.
Ragnarok.
Yeah,
okay.
That makes sense.
Oh, that does make sense.
So for me, it would be New Nightmare 3, 6, 1, 4, 5, I think.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, unanimous worst is definitely 5, right?
Yeah.
We all got
Dream
that.
Child
Okay.
is worst.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would probably have it. Shit. I would go 3-1 New Nightmare. Freddy's Dead. And remake 4-5.
Oh, I forgot the remake. Yeah. Remake is definitely above Freddy's Dead. Or not Freddy's Dead, 4 and 5. So yeah, that's where I put that as well.
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Well,
I can't rank 'em.
we know which one you got at the top. So
I mean, original 3, New Nightmare. That's my top 3. I can give you that. After that, it becomes a shit show.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, we got anything else before we wrap this up?
I got nothing.
Nah.
Okay. Well, that does it for our Nightmare franchise. Hope you're not sleeping after this because, that was the goal. Before we wrap up, do we want to go over what's next with our next franchises?
Do we know that that's going to be our next franchise, or is that going to be another 2 years? Can we get into it? I mean, we could probably do Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead, Child's Play before the movies that need to get watched to do what we've talked about possibly being our next franchise.
That is true. That is true.
There may be like a whole Royal Rumble watch along that needs to happen, and then WrestleMania is right around the corner when you finish that up. And
Oh, God.
December's not too far away. You might have to watch all the Starcades. You never know.
Oh, no. Not Starcade.
No, for real though, TC wanted to do this, and because he had other obligations and things going on, he let us do this and said he wanted to be on for Scream. So hopefully before the end of the summer, we'll be doing Scream next.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, when I talk to him tomorrow, I'm gonna see where he's at. So
He's gonna be like, "Oh, I still need to watch
even watched
those
the movie.
last ones."
yeah,
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
So, because my hope was to just like within the next 2 weeks, just get right into the next one, but
We'll see.
Yeah. But with that, I want to thank my esteemed cinema crew for jumping on this with me as well. Before we get out of here, obviously, plug your guys' socials, where to find all the wonderful stuff that all you guys do. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I know. I go first. You can follow me on Twitter at KatieWrestling13. The link tree I'm about to take you all things She Lead Showcase, twitch.tv/She Lead Showcase, typically Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. Maybe, I don't know, schedules are going to change, to be determined. There's YouTube, you can subscribe to that. Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. She Lead Showcase is the weekly recap, Inside the Mind of, which I'm filming with Travis tomorrow morning. Well, technically, in a few hours. That'll be up Monday, but I have interviews with Matt and Reek. You can check those out. In the Crowds, the collab show I do. The latest one with Matt and Vince is up. I gotta work on those too, but it's a process. New Japan Takeover, my co-host Savannah does all things New Japan. We have merch. Matt's working on other merch that I will have up as well, and I'll let Matt explain all of that. But yeah.
Follow me on Twitter at MattRivers@MattTridder. Also, Instagram and Twitter, Smacking Raw Pod. I run the Twitter. Vince runs the Instagram. Facebook.com/group/Smacking Raw. Creation World is the banner under which the Smacking Raw podcast exists. So if you want more shit besides the #1 wrestling podcast on Pornhub, go check out Creation World, where you will find Dungeons After Dark, Super Flash Hero tomorrow, #Damn Thrones, which will be coming back with the new Game of Thrones series starting up this summer. So look forward to that, and that you can find at creationworld.com, facebook.com/creationworld, or on Twitter and Instagram at the creationworld, THECREATIA world. As Katie said, we also have merch, linktree/Creation World. We have a pro wrestling pro choice t-shirt coming out that Jizzy from the Deadass Girls has designed and finished for us that I will be getting up within the next couple days on our merch store. Katie, I believe, will be doing the same thing. So if you support women's rights and body autonomy, and you are a pro wrestling fan, go check that out. I'm also going to talk to Jizzy about doing one for Creation World outside of just wrestling. So if you don't want a wrestling shirt, we might have something else for you. So within the next couple days, check out my Twitter. I will have that posted when it's up, and you guys can go check that out.
And as always,
all the money for those shirts goes to from us is going to go to women's reproductive rights assistance project. All proceeds going to charity, and I encourage anyone else that uses that to choose a charity of their choice and donate all the proceeds as well.
Right on. Good stuff. And as always, you guys can find me at Recavity24 on Instagram and on Twitter. You can find the Havoc Hour on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts. The video versions, which is the most entertaining, is up on YouTube as always. You can find me and your boy TC at Young Kings Wrestling, at YK Wrestling everywhere except Instagram because they some hoes. You can find us at Instagram, on Instagram at YK Wrestling _. And since we mentioned in some different platforms that we use, if you're interested in doing something for a good cause as well, obviously you go to ykwrestling.com to get your merch, those NWO inspired Black Lives Matter tees. All proceeds are donated into a fund which my guy TC deposits out to different families who are directly affected by police brutality and racial injustice. So bunch of great causes that you can support on here with all our good people. But go check that out. Content there, here, and everywhere. You can find them. So, again, thank you, my people. This has been fun. We will get back to doing this regularly. I promise you all. But for that, this has been Nightmare on Havoc Street for the patron saint of podcasting, Mr. Matt Ritter, for the shaman of She-Leet, Miss Katie Kinzy Bay Bay. I am Wreak Havoc. This has been the Havoc Hour. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.